proud father of two Frisco ISD students and a devoted husband to his wife, an amazing Frisco ISD teacher. And like his wife, Mr. Bond also served as a Frisco ISD educator. He was promoted to the position of assistant principal for both a Frisco ISD middle school and high school, where he delivered transformational leadership through instruction, professional development, discipline, and intervention programs, serving hundreds of teachers and thousands of students and their families. Prior to his years in public education, Reed Bond proudly served his country in the United States Air Force. Just to let you know, I couldn't pass the Air Force IQ test. That's why I went to the Army. As a company grade officer at the National Air and Space Intelligence Center, he modeled foreign integrated air defense systems in support of U.S. intelligence analysis. His education consists of a Bachelor's of Science in Industrial Engineering from Texas Tech University. Red Raiders, got a little problem with your basketball coach out there. A Master's of Science in Systems Engineering from the Air Force Institute of Technology, and a Texas Principal Certification. You have already been there as an educator, an assistant principal. Your wife is an educator. What motivates you then to want to run to be on the Frisco Independent School District, place number 4?
Great question. And again, Colonel West, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. A lot of reasons, but I'll say this. A year ago, the 2021-2022 school year was very difficult for everyone in education in Frisco ISD, perhaps nationally. But COVID, it was post-COVID, you know, all the kids coming back on campus. There's a lot of challenges to deal with. And our teachers are really struggling to hang on. Last school year, we lost 1,100 education professionals, and 860 of those were teachers. That is a huge number. HR came back later and said it was because of COVID and the Great Resignation. I didn't leave because of COVID and the Great Resignation. I left because on my campus alone, we had 60 arrests for felonies. That was all I was doing all day, every day at a high school at my campus. And because of this, and it's a complex problem, right, that we need to get control of. But because of this, I wasn't able to support teachers and students like I should be as an assistant principal anymore, because my hands are tied up doing all these other things with, frankly, crime on our campus. And it was too much. It wasn't a long-term solution anymore. But I am so excited now because I have an opportunity to, without having my hands tied, get back to supporting teachers and students and families in our district. And I love Frisco ISD. I came here back to North Texas in 2007 when I got out of the Air Force and put a pin on the map. Frisco is where I want to be. Still love it here. My kids are in the district. My wife is in the district. Love public education. And I'm really excited about an opportunity now where I can really affect change and really get back to helping teachers and going back to the basics.
Now, you brought up a great point, Reed, in that you've been there in the classroom. Your wife is still in the classroom, and you've been an assistant principal. How did you see the school board, the trustees, which are where the policies are made? How were they a hindrance to what is happening down there where the rubber meets the road in the classroom?
Yeah, it's a great question. To be honest with you, most teachers and assistant principals, I like to call them street level bureaucrats, government officials working with the public on the ground every day. We don't think about the board. When I say we, I mean as an educator on a campus. You know, we don't think about the board that much. It doesn't enter daily conversation very often. We think about higher level administration because that's where our directives are coming from, right? We assume the board is elected by the people to represent the will and the interests of the constituents, the people of the community, and that the district leadership is answerable to the board. What I've learned recently upon more further inspection into this, and it's not just here, this is a problem in a lot of places, is that there's often a culture where the board members are really just pretty faces to rubber stamp the administrative agenda. And I think COVID opened up a lot of people's eyes to what was going on in school systems, and they saw that that was the relationship, when really it should be, this is your elective representative, you set, board members should be setting policy, and that policy should be carried out. So there's the political landscape is changing, as you know, rapidly right now. And it's because I think a lot of community members are realizing that their values and their voices aren't being represented in their school districts.
What are the type of things that you would like to see changed in that relationship between that administrative or the teaching side, and then the board of trustees?
Yeah, I think Marvin, you hit on something important, and that's, you know, you and the other conservative board member, named Stephanie, he mentioned her.
Mhm.
To me, it's not just that, it's not a conservative liberal thing. It's we have problems that we can solve. And we need to focus on the problems that are occurring in our school system, like our academic excellence is being heavily watered down. Our graduates are not being taken seriously by major universities' admissions offices because they know that we do waterfall grading and standards-based learning, and the kids can turn in.
Explain that to the audience.
Yeah, so there's this idea that comes from a good place. It's an interventionist sort of idea that students should be graded based only on their mastery of a skill in the present moment, period. They should not be assessed on their timeliness of completing the task or turning things in or how many times they got to retest because they can do it.
You ain't getting through Ranger School like that.
Right.
Okay. I mean,
And
yeah.
here's the thing. Teachers hate it. They're having to grade things that are 6 weeks late. Parents hate it because they're like, you mean your teacher said you don't have to turn it, you can test again? You know, parents hate it, teachers hate it. And I don't know, it sounded like a good idea upon its initial implementation, but it's a massive failure. It's a problem, and it's causing our students not to have the academic rigor they need. And now
Yeah.
universities are wise to this, and they're ranking Frisco ISD graduates lower. This is a nonpartisan issue that we can fix. Like, there are other things, nonpartisan issue. Here's one. Teachers are losing more and more support. They're having their desktop computers taken out of their classroom. So they have like a screen like this and a keyboard. How are you supposed to take attendance and do all the things that you need to do that you actually need to keep the kids from seeing in your classroom? If they're sitting down for 10 minutes to take a quiz, teachers need that 10 minutes to go take care of some business.
Yeah.
They can't do that anymore. They're having filing cabinets taken away, printers taken away, furniture refreshes to the tune of $1 million per campus.
What's the purpose?
That's a great question. And I want to find out more about what the purpose of all this is,
Who's
because
making that decision? Okay.
I don't know. But as a trustee, I want to really look into why this is happening. Teachers they're losing the support, and they're afraid to speak up about it because they see our board take a mom comes to the microphone and expresses, "Hey, my teacher is struggling because you took her desktop computer away." That's on film because all of the board.
Yeah, it's open.
So the board president took that, blurred her face, and made a correcting the commentary video and put it out on YouTube and attached it to the Frisco ISD website. Is this going to encourage more community to come?
It's called censorship.
Yeah.
And it's really intimidation as well.
And then, so teachers aren't going to stick their neck out. You know, they're afraid to lose their job. Do you
So-
mind if I jump in real quick?
Please.
Yeah, because this is a really important point he's bringing up. 2.5 years ago now, it was rolled out as a mandate district-wide, the standards-based learning, standards-based mindset, which would lead to standards-based grading. Don't worry about all the words right now. There was a 2-year plan. They told every campus, you have 2 years to get to point X. How you get there during that 2 years is up to you. And so that's why you're seeing some different approaches to that, right? That 2-year mark finished last May, okay, right when you were being elected. But what most people don't know, that only discussions happen at the administrative level, not even teachers, certainly not the public, is that this wasn't a 2-year plan. This is a 15-year plan
I can believe it.
to eliminate grades from 0 to 100 entirely. Now, how are graduates going to apply for colleges when we have a completely equitied the?
How are we going to compete against China? Okay. I mean, and see, that's the thing that people don't understand. You know, this little thing here in your independent school district has a national security ramification. Okay, because there are people that are training hard, being in education or whatever, in discipline, in education or whatever. And they have this long range plan as well. And so when we're sitting here coddling our kids and worrying about their social, emotional learning and feelings and equity and the quality of outcomes and everything, they're worrying about one thing. We're going to be competitive and we're going to kick your butt. And our kids aren't getting, you got to learn how to kick butt. You know, I can take the test over and over and over and over again. I can wait, as long as I want to turn in an assignment. No. And then, of course, they go out into the real world and the boss says, where's the project? I told you it had to be due, in 24 hours. Well, it can wait 96 hours. you're fired. A- and so this thing has multiple levels of ramifications and consequences for our culture and our society. And that's why, again, this is such an important position that you are in because you're setting the stage for the United States of America for the next 30, 40, 50 years with the minds of our young people. You, as the teacher or the principal, you're told that you have to affirm that person and you have to use the pronouns of their choice. And the students are told that, or else they get lawsuits brought against them. It just disrupts everything in the school.
I will add to that or comment that Frisco never told me that I had to use a certain pronoun with anybody. I would caution everyone to understand that that is happening other places. And if we don't stand up to that sort of thing, it will happen in Frisco also. I worked with a lot of transgender students, and you hit on a great point that, what's going on in their home, we can't
Yeah.
do anything about that. What we can do is love them when they come to school, right? And as a teacher, as an administrator, I made all kind of accommodations. They use gender neutral bathrooms like the nurse's office, things like that. I've worked with a lot of transgender kids and had good relationships with them. I think that another alarming trend that we're seeing is that, again, mostly other places, but it's starting to seep into Frisco as well, is that from a young age, young grades, we're wanting to talk about those things in classrooms. And
Absolutely.
that is not a topic for the school.
No.
That's a topic for the families at home. And we need to, and even though it's not necessarily just rampant everywhere, we do need to know it's coming, because in other parts of the country that are not like-minded with our part of the country, they're totally okay with this. And if we don't stand up and put some barriers in place now, then that will happen here.
Now, let's talk about the textbook issues or the books in the library. Are y'all finding that as well?
Yeah, I found some myself when I was an AP at a middle school. I would go, like, a kid would bring that, Mr. Bond, do you know that this is on our library? No, I'm sorry about that. Take it out, throw it away. I mean, it's that simple. I don't know why it's so hard to say, hey, there's a, sexually explicit or, obscene book in a child's library, especially middle school or elementary
Yeah.
school. Why is that controversial to take those books out? That's completely mind-boggling.
Well, now the thing is that you're banning books. I mean, they don't want to be specific in talking about that you are removing obscene material from minors, which any other place, if you were to try to take a minor into a triple X, store or something like that, you're contributing to the delinquency of a minor. But yet you can have the exact same type of material, in a library or in a school. So, again, that's one of the challenges that we have to get out from and face. Let's talk about the election coming up. Where do you stand? I mean, you're about to have your big kickoff. When is the
We had the
election day?
kickoff.
Okay.
Kickoff last Friday. It was fantastic.
Good.
Got a lot of support. I am blown away by how many people are just saying, like, Reed, thank you so much for doing this, and we'll be praying for you because they're coming for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm starting to see some of that, but that's okay. The cause is worth it. I didn't have to do this. When I got out, I was kind of like, I need to move on with my life, but a bunch of my supporters, when I say supporters, I mean other educators that I've worked with for years, got in my ear and said, Reed, you might be one of the few most qualified people to actually do something about this.
No, without a doubt.
Yeah, and they kept getting back in my ear, and I'm like, no, I'm done. But then I started to think about it, and then I started to pay attention to what was going on with censoring the parents, and I was like, I cannot sit by and let this continue. Again, I love this place. I came to this place on purpose. So we're not going anywhere. My wife's still a teacher. She
Yeah.
loves it. My kids love their school. And so, I'm just really excited to get the opportunity to get back in now and actually, be able to make effective change without having my hands tied by, red tape and administrative, tasks and things like that.
Reed, final thoughts.
Our teachers deserve to be treated like professionals, and they're not feeling that right now. And we need to get back to that. It may be more than just Frisco ISD, but our teachers need to be treated and feel like professionals and given the autonomy in their classrooms to love their kids and to teach their kids. We've got to fix our transparency problem with the public, with the community, with the parents. Right now, the community doesn't trust the district, and the district is on edge with the community. I mean, there's a lot of tension. I believe we have practical problems that we can solve and that we can rebuild that bridge. I believe it with all of my heart. That's why I'm still here. That's why my family's still here. I was in education for 15 years. I know how it works.
Yeah.
I know how to solve problems, and we can do it. And we can do it together. But we've got to get on that seat first. I've been I've been a servant leader my entire adult life.
Mhm.
Air Force, then teacher, then administrator, and only recently have I left for the private sector. But this is a fantastic opportunity to continue to serve and make a positive change in our community.